Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come to talk to you and tell you our story at BMS of installing Author It as a tool of efficiency, a tool of technology enabler to a larger vision across the organization. And I'm now going to share the story with you that nets in a numeric value. If you heard, I do like metrics. I do like ending things in a story of ROI. The story ends with a cost avoidance on de novo content of 29 to 44%. The variation is due to clinical study size. And then content updates on, we just measured this off of the recent ASCO Congress in the spring, where we had content updates on existing content and avoided 74% of our effort to update existing trial content data. It's an amazing number. When you tell people that those numbers in a corporate setting, they wake up a bit, because I don't think there's many initiatives or efforts going on in the pharmaceutical industry that's heavy in process and maybe over-processed that result in that kind of net benefit. So the story started that we had a recognized business case that there was duplication of effort. If you work in the pharmaceutical industry, you know that there's duplication of effort. I was asked to take a role in the medical affairs organization. After I built out a R&D scientific learning group, I was asked by the senior leaders of R&D to come in and look at how can we systematize content in medical affairs so that it provides a supply chain of content for all of the deliverables. Right? So think about that. That's all of the deliverables. That's what my charter is and the vision is. The story I'm going to tell you right now is specifically to one type of deliverable that we've already talked about with Pfizer, which is the standard response. But please know that's not the end of our story. The end of our story will be when we deploy the rest of Author It across all of our outputs. So you know the business case, right? We have duplication of effort. Every market was rewriting the same data for utilization in their interactions with KOLs, healthcare providers, advisory boards. And we needed a new technology, we needed a new people, and we needed a new business process. So I embarked upon those three items, and I'm here to tell you the technology piece of it all. So I started with a content strategy. So I came into this role back in the beginning of 2014. I stood up and I said, here's my vision. I see we have content that we're rewriting across all the functions, across all the markets. We want to write it once and we want to reuse it. And that will be our mantra, and that will be the vision. So everyone thought I knew about this and I had done some research on it. I had not, but I just knew conceptually, I think all of you know conceptually, that this is the wave in which we need to go as a life science industry. So central to this strategy was content components. Author It is the technology on the market. And I say that because I challenged my IT folks, who I'm looking for I'm being very transparent. I challenged my IT folks to find alternatives. What's the menu of options that we have out there? And they didn't find any. But I did challenge them to look for what are the other authoring technologies that can meet our need and as far along on the curve of deployment. And no other technology was in the space of maturity that Author It is. I also created this roadmap to achieving it. It starts with, I think we talked about, you have to have the leadership buy-in from the very top, right? You have to have that change sponsorship. So the fact that I was asked to take this job, centralize all medical affairs content by the Senior Vice President of Development and Medical. And when I took the job, I said, this is what we need. This is the investment that's required. The individual specific to medical affairs, Lars at the time, said, you got it. He made the investment. So this was the operating model that Becky created. She's a business architecture colleague. She created this, and then I said, would you come and work with me and help me implement it? And she joined the team. Because the one thing that we do need when we're putting something like this in, we need standards of operation, and it's really accelerated our timelines. So I'll tell you one acceleration of our timelines is that we get content out to the markets within 24 hours of public disclosure. And it's not a hard thing to accomplish. The technology is an enabler to that. Yeah. 5 to 10 days. That's more standard, right? But we have customers calling the next day, right? We have customers calling that day. And 24 hours is the longest time it will take us. We have my proof of concept, we did it in 4 minutes.
Can you meet that 24 hours when you're in a partnership with another company?
We do have a partnership with Pfizer. So yes, we do meet that 24 hours. The headquarter colleagues that were part of the matrix, right, said, why do we need to do this? Why are you pushing to get it done in 24 hours? We've always had a standard of 5 to 10 business days and it's worked. I'm like, we're not doing that. The markets and the contact centers need this in 24 hours so they can engage with their thought leaders.
And the turnaround time, I guess you said right now, you're looking at 24 hours
Yep.
for components. If it was starting a new letter collection or a new SRD with several different studies included in there,
Oh, okay.
what
So-
that looks like, it's
Okay,
more
so
complex.
I think what you, no, so in answer to your question, all standard responses and all field medical content gets delivered within 24 hours of public disclosure. Bottom line, we get those reviews done. And if we don't, if we have laggers on providing feedback, we out them. So I'm very transparent on how I've structured the team to operate, and I don't fool around with people impeding upon getting the content needed to engage with our healthcare providers. We are for the patients, and that's where we keep our eye on that 100% of the time. So I just want to make sure, I think you all know this part, but I had to learn this, right, 2 years ago. I had to learn what a component was in Author It, and how you can see how we engage and feed into Viva Vault, and then we have a Salesforce.com CRM tool. Here's my rendering of a componentization where you can write one component, use it in multiple books or sections, and then it feeds up into one overall document. You can see we're also, not only are we doing it in standard responses, but we are doing it in Q&As. Q&As are, you must use Q&As. I don't know if you're all MI, but Q&As are used, it's used quite a bit in field medical. So that's how remember, we're doing content for everyone. Right? And then this is our high-level process. This is my favorite slide. It shows you the value, right? It shows you that a comparator, when we had a document-based system to author it. You know, in the old system, we created one component 22 times, right? A single component or single study design had to be was rewritten 22 discrete times at the cost of $586. We had an average cost of a medical writer. So the medical writer costs in the US are about 120. The medical writer costs in the UK are about 60. So we have more medical writers in the UK than we do in the US, just so you know. And then when you have a component-based authoring system, you write it once and then you reuse it 21 times at the cost of $99. Okay? As well as the review savings of another $997 for total savings of about $1,500. So when Sandra just did updating the existing standard responses based on the new data that came out in our oncology portfolio, and she was able to model it out at a cost avoidance of 74%, which is magnificent. But you can see at the bottom right-hand corner that with Author It, it is more costly to initially create, right? But then your costs and your time drop magnificently when it comes to the reuse. So our head of our scientific organization, Francis Cuss, has a little mantra that he uses: reuse is our religion, the religion of reuse. Because it really is that important, not only in time but in quality, because you're getting the consistent data, right? So we did a survey recently of our markets, and they love our speed by over 95%, and they love our quality by over 97%. It's just hitting the mark, right? It's something we need to do. So the outputs are faster time, better quality, and agile component maintenance, right? It's really quite a nice story. So what are we doing next? So we started this in 2014. We implemented in 2015 to 2016, where we centralized the middle column. We reused, we eliminated local re-reviews. That was another thing that we did. If there's only one source of content, the markets don't need to re-review. Right? So multiply that times all your markets that are taking content and re-reviewing for use. We eliminated that. They are so happy. And then lastly, the 24 hours we consider a real-time availability. So what are we doing next? We're partnering very tightly with AuthorIt. We are contributing to the update of the new system Huxley. And we are going to expand the modality of publishing into PowerPoint. I was very clear and direct with our AuthorIt colleagues, and I know George will probably tell you how clear and direct I was with them. And their ability to turn on a dime and supply us with high-touch customer service. And what I mean by that is during our congresses, I required a 24/7 customer service person from AuthorIt that we could call and say, we have data to get into the technology. Help me, right? So, because our congresses are happening over the weekend, right? And so we needed that, we needed that customer service, and they were there. And we wouldn't be here if they weren't there.
Hi, Donna. I'm curious if you can expand on or elaborate on your plans to expand into PowerPoint and slide deliverables. Are you talking about MSL slides?
Yes.
Are you starting to think about other, you mentioned it, but
Yes.
if you could elaborate on the other medical content types you're thinking about, learning materials,
Yes.
things of that nature?
Yes, 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 yes. So that's what we're thinking about. So I can envision taking this as far as we can partner and go together. And I think that, if you're considering anything, you want to consider, part of your thinking process is to consider the service level that you're going to get from a technology company. And I can attest that I put in very strong asks, and they were all delivered on without a question.
So you're obviously making great progress in medical.
Yeah.
Do you see this also expanding into regulatory labeling, et cetera, other commercial even?
Yeah, yeah. So we have, I speak very passionately about this in the organization, and was just a part of, Becky and I were asked to be a part of a solutioning phase of a labeling project. I think, we know in life sciences things, take a little while to adopt. You have to have those people willing to be trailblazers and willing to, get scratched up and make the inroads. But then you start talking about it and it makes sense. And if you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. I think it's something that can be a real game changer in our whole industry and how we create consistency across all of our medicines for our patients, because that's ultimately what we're here for. So thank you very much.